Tell us a little bit about your role in those films and why did
Well,
you choose them?
yeah, in Queen of the Desert, I played, well, it was about Gertrude Bell, the archaeologist, poet, who came in the 1900s to the Arab world, to the Middle East, and lived there for some years. I was her guide who spoke English to her and Arabic to the people. And Fatouh, my role, was a good man, decent. And I came with an idea that he would, because he's a guide and they travel along the desert, he would sing and play rababe, that instrument in the desert. Yeah, and to add this value to the role. And yeah, it worked. I mean,
You talk about going back and maybe working with Arab film and movie. What do you think of Arab films and movie, and why they're not making it in an international arena? Still,
in the Arab world, they produce very good films, but the audience still local because they are addressing the the Arab audience.
local issue.
And yes, and if you want to go globally, you have to address people. You have to address the people all over the world.
Human.
I mean, human, yeah, the human nature. Stick to an idea. Uh, I want to go after the value, after the good movies, after the good projects, and I want to be an artist that fits in good places, in good projects. So I don't want to stick to an idea.
That wonderful note. I really appreciate your time and thank you so much. And wish you all the luck. And I'm sure we'll hear from you again. And this is a great story. And also, I know it is an Arab story, it is a Syrian story, but also it is an American story. So we wish you luck and thank you. And we'll say goodbye for now. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was Jihad Abdu, Jihad invading Hollywood. A great story, and it's yeah, an Arab story, an immigrant story, but also it's an American story. Here, back to the studio, talk with Professor Fouzi Slisli about what's going on in Iraq and Syria, the ISIS, and the dynamic of the new jihad and new globe, and how politics now intertwined with a new power, a new player. Fauzi, you were talking about there will be a new player in that area. You talk about Iran and.
Well, new player or new players, I think it's all unclear now. There is powers that are forming. There is conflict that is taking place, and it's still unclear out of this. I think what the West wants to prevent is a coherent Islamic force that would appear, and especially if it spans more than one border, right? If it's a supranational state of some sort, not like ISIS, but ISIS seems to be in a way fake, unauthentic, but I think it's more what the effort of the populations is, building up, that seems to be worrying world powers.
Well, it seems to me that's very inevitable. Yeah, this is inevitable. This is going to happen because of the populations, the oppressed, and all the history and the false promises from the nationalist leader that came after the colonial in the 50s and the 60s. It seems all this secular nationalist, all this collapsing, and now that everybody's looking for a genuine indigenous movement.
Solution.
Yeah, solution. It seems, ISIS here, Brotherhood here, Jihad is here, but they all, on the bottom of this, the people who support those movement, I think they agree on the same thing in Libya and in Egypt. If you talk about the population,
Totally.
probably they agree on those things.
I think there is consensus among Arab Muslim populations that they don't want to have powers interfere in their lives. I think this is not a controversial thing to say. Arabs, especially Muslim Arabs, they're just sick and tired of having their sovereignty confiscated by either regional powers like Iran or by global powers like the US and France and Britain. And I think what the Arab Spring constituted was the collapse of that order. That order where you have what in African American US history is called the head nigger in charge, who rules over a bunch of natives, right? That's what we had in the Arab world. Right? I think this era is coming to an end. There is an attempt by the United States to kind of patch it up, right? Even by subcontracting to shadowy groups like ISIS or by subcontracting to Iran. And there is an attempt by regional powers like Iran and Russia to kind of parasite on the chaos and try to expand their interest and their influence while there is a power vacuum. But I think the central player, and this is what goes missing in the political analysis, people talk about states and parties, and I think the central player, the big hero of the Arab Revolution drama are the Arab Muslim people. And also with the other minorities, you know, Christians or Jews or even who insist on controlling their sovereignty, controlling the natural resources, determining who governs them, determining the processes by which they are governed and the way they...
Why is it so hard for the West, or for the American in particular, to deal with the people? Because it seems to me, after the collapse of dictatorship, post-Arab revolutions, it created instability. So when you deal with the people and you reside with the population, it seems like this is a long-term stabilized foreign policy.
Well, unfortunately, Ahmad, the global system is not balanced. What we call development in the West generates underdevelopment in the Arab world,
so
for example.
Parasitic,
So if the Arab world, if people in the Arab world become agents and in control of their natural resources and in control of their sovereignty, this will automatically translate into a loss of income for the West.
resources.
A loss of resources, a loss of influence, a loss of...
And you talk about the capitalist system then.
Yes.
But it depends on it. Is it a
Yes.
capitalist system, changing or developing to coexist with China, coexist with the new power in Brazil?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
can't you coexist with the new power in the Middle East?
Well, newcomers
equal.
are it's always hard to come in into a small group of,
So they'll try to do as much as they can get away with it.
Totally, and it's a very, very rich region. I mean, the Arab Middle East is the bread and butter of a lot of Western nations, in terms of exports, in terms of expertise, in terms of, military help, in terms of, all sorts of.
How does, we just heard about what's going on in Israel, these days, the kidnapping of children and reaction and all that. What is the role of Israel in all of this? And how American is looking at it? You say Americans don't need the oil anymore, but they still have Israel to worry about.
I think so. Israel is a settler colonial project. It's a Western enclave in the Muslim world, at the heart of the Muslim world, and its job is to keep the Arab world into minorities, little minorities.
The
So
minority.
Israel has been, conceived, I think it was Shimon Peres in the 50s who said, we want to be a majority in a sea of minorities. This is how they planned it, and this is how it panned out. Israel ensures that the Arab Muslim world remains a sea of minorities, right? And the threat to Israel, especially from the Syrian revolution, threatens that situation. It threatens to turn the Arab Muslim world into a majority, into a unified within a single ideological framework, within either some kind of
inspiration.
Totally. And it's, I think the West is more concerned about Israel than about oil, especially with fracking. I don't think the West needs Middle Eastern oil anymore, but it's Israel that's the most important.
So when you look at Israel and the future for Israel and the reaction and behavior from destroying a whole nation because somebody throw some rocket on a freeway somewhere, is that reaction, is it a paranoia or racist reaction? You kill one, I kill 100. Why this is disproportionate reaction from the state of Israel for every minute misbehaving Arab in a neighborhood?
Well, in a way, I mean, this is how Israel always acted, as a psychopath, by, flashing violence in the face of its Arab enemies at the drop of a hat, right? Israel always acted like the psychopath in a neighborhood.
But
right?
that's why. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's a very powerful nation, probably the fourth or fifth most powerful military in the world. So why this overreacting from something that could be dealt with calmly or negotiation or, I mean, they have Asian and proxy around them.
Well, that's the thing with settler colonial states. They are founded by an act of violence and displacement to the native population, and they establish a balance of overwhelming force with the natives. And any attempt to weaken that violence, right? If you soften the tone with the native is going to want more. So the colonizer, I mean, this is known in history books and, studies of colonialism. The colonizer is always an exhibitionist when it comes to force. They always make this exhibitionism of thuggish attitude. And the second thing that I can think of is that with ISIS and the attempt to pinch the Syrian revolution between Syrian Ba'ath and Shia extremists and Iraqi Ba'ath and Sunni extremists,
what an alliance.
I think there is also a part probably in this script that's for the Zionists to play in a way to capture the Syrian revolution.
But if you have this very unlikely alliance between extreme Ba'athi, I mean Shias and Ba'athi here and also Ba'athi and Sunni, that's very hard for a superpower like United States or Iran to deal with this.
But this is the Iranian-American deal, Ahmad. It's been in the works for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, I mean, since the invasion of Afghanistan.
But they have their own issue too. They cannot agree on everything.
Sure, but I think the rapprochement between Iraq and the United States is producing this situation, right? With these forces, I think Iran is bringing the Syrian Ba'ath and its Shabiha and its Shia extremists, and the US with its Gulf allies are bringing the Ba'ath and their Sunni extremists. And the plan is to catch the Syrian revolution within a pincer movement like that.
Well, let's on that note, thank you so much, Professor Fouzi Slisli. It's a very fascinating analysis, and Fouzi Slisli, the extensive research and teaching in Islam and politics, and we'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum, and God bless you all.
Assalamu alaikum.